Should you spend spotlights? Should you spend tokens on Mobius M Mobius? I think we all know the answer to that, but we're going to look at that, decks, and how he ranks up to the other spotlights that are coming so you can plan ahead for what you might want to open. Let's just jump right into this. I think Mobius is going to be one of the best cards in the game. I think everybody's going to have him. I think it's going to be very critical. So what does he do? Mobius, he's an ongoing card that'll come into play during our discussion. Your cards cannot be increased. Your opponent's costs cannot be increased. Again, your costs can't be increased. Your opponent's can't be reduced. So this is going to be interesting when you play other Mobiuses, but basically if somebody Icemans you, if somebody, you know, waves you, anything that's going to cost your card cost to be increased, not going to happen. And if your opponent's trying to play Loki, Quinjet, no, Mobius is like, nah, you can't do that. You're going to play your Sarah, bye-bye, Zabu, bye-bye. Like none of that stuff's going to be reduced. So Mobius is a gigantic card that is gonna have to, I'm fully convinced he's gonna drop from a 2-3. There's just he's gonna be too strong. He's gonna be literally everywhere. So that's what he is. Now let's look at the graphic on how he ranks up to other cards. I'm not gonna go deep into this. I had a video on this the other day, go check it out. But where Mobius was down here in the good niche section. Listen, the main reason for that is he's series 4. Anytime a card is series 4, I am inclined to put them in easy skip or good niche, because I think it's better to spend 3,000 tokens than it is to open spotlight caches. There might be a rare exception here and there, but I think Kang sucks. High evolutionary is great. If you don't have high evo, then this could certainly jump up. As far as how he compares to the rest of October, you can see October's got Black Knight, Werewolf by Night, but then it's got Man Thing down here in easy skip, and then it's got Nico up. I've got high until I could drop that one potentially. Because Phoenix Force isn't that big of a deal, but I'm leaning into Nico right now until I know some more information about her. But right now, so Mobius, you really don't want to spend spotlights on him because there's a lot of really good cards coming. And even in November, there's a lot more. So again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but Mobius, whether it's tokens or spotlights, you got to get them. I recommend tokens. So now let's look at what decks are the best for Mobius. Or at least to start with on day one. So we're going to talk about one of the biggest keys with Mobius at the end of this. I'm going to go deck by deck. I think we've got, I don't know, I'm going to start with about 4-ish decks. The first one that we're going to look at is Mobius with a Loki Collect Monster Wave. I'm calling it Monster Wave. Well, this one's not really a Monster Wave, but there's another card in it that kind of brings it monstery. So this is sort of your Death Wave that you're used to. And Death Wave, Doom Wave, She-Hulk Wave, Monster Wave, whatever you want to call it, wave and cards with Mobius on that final turn are going to come back with a flurry of decks all over the place. It's going to be literally everywhere, in my opinion. So that's why Mobius is going to be critical, because that's a really strong archetype, or it was. And then now Mobius is going to sort of be able to bring it back or prevent things from wave basically dominating and all those things dropping. If you've got Mobius, you can still have it. So the only way to counter that is to have your own Mobius, which again, we'll get to in a little bit. The idea here is to on turn 5 wave, then on turn 6, you're going to get She-Hulk for what? That'd be 2. You'll get Death. Well, in this particular situation, we'll talk about alternate cards. She'll be 4, so you could play both of those. You got Doom as a potential backup to maybe She-Hulk if you really want. Or Death rather, so you can maybe spread some things around. So you've got a really strong turn 6. Now, I've got a ColLoki Collector. I don't know. That was something I just literally made up on the spot. ColLoki deck that in this version where it's like you're also adding Collector and Loki into this so that you can play into that meta that's still there. So you've got your Quinjet, your Cable, your Coulson, your Fury, your Mirage, all of those things to play before turn 5. That's really where you're going to want to look at it. Turn 5 is really needs to be for wave. So, I mean, Loki, that's where it gets a little jumbly here. And I think the better decks are a little bit after this. How are you going to make sure that you've got, what are you going to pull wave on 5? That's what you're counting on with Loki. Like, because if you Loki, then your wave isn't there anymore. So that's a little risky, recognizing that. But I wanted to have sort of a mixed version for now. You could take Death out of this. And again, we'll put some other decks that are, I'd say, more cohesive together just after this. Take out Death, maybe put in America Chavez, White Queen, Agent 13, Kitty Angela, something along those lines. So let's go to the more fun decks, in my opinion. is the first one is a Mobius EvoWave lockdown. So the idea is lockdown, right? You're always going to be looking to lock down a little bit. And it's really high Evo with some, well, we're not quite to Monster Wave yet. We'll get there. But it's high Evo with some Death Wave. You've got 2 1-cost cards cheap to play early on. Now, you're probably not going to get a lot of skipping with Sunspot, so there's potential to move him out there. Any lockdown deck has to have Jeff, absolutely. Storm absolutely helps with that lockdown. We know why Wave's here. She's synchronizing with these other cards over here. We've got Cyclops to go into potential lockdown lane, high Evo for that Cyclops, and honestly the Hulk, which we'll get to in a second. Pro-X because it's a lockdown type situation, Jeff to help with that a little bit. Now you've got for your Wave, you've got your Hulk as a backup. These is basically a replacement for Death. So I like the Hulk here because you're not necessarily going to have, well, on turn 5 or turn 6 rather, you're not going to use all your energy more than likely. So you're going to get some additional points from him. You're going to get some extra dings from Cyclops on turn, potentially turn 4, depending on how you play it, but definitely turn 5 and probably turn 6. So this is, you know, essentially it could be anywhere from a 3-6 to a 3-8, which is huge to go along with your Death Wave here, or your Doom Wave rather. So I like this one a lot. I think it's one that I'm definitely probably going to start with. We'll see. I think it's got a lot of functionality, a lot of different playability if you like the lockdown archetype. If I was to change anything, I'd maybe take out Sunspot, think about Death, maybe Misty Knight. I don't know. I think Misty Knight for only getting 1 point on a skip, and you're not going to do it that often. I don't know. Maybe that's the right thing to do, but Sunspot might be a little bit more possibility there. I don't know. Maybe Misty Knight is better. So that's a function that you'd have to decide, but that's an easy swap if you want to make it. All right, let's get to the Monster Wave stuff. All right, so this is what I'm calling Monster Wave. It's your traditional sort of Doom, She-Hulk, Death Wave, but I've added Alioth, and that's why I called it Monster Wave, because you've got all these monsters that you could play late, right? So in this one, we're leaning into the destroy aspect of it. You've got a bunch of destroy cards to try to get that death cheaper. You've obviously got Mobius because this is all about Mobius and not being able to have anybody mess with you in that, and you want to be able to pull things off. We talked earlier about She-Hulk getting to be 2 cost, potentially death cheaper with all, or maybe free. And then, you know, if this is 2 and this is potentially 4, you could play all of these cards late. Now, you could also think about Alioth with that as well. Again, it can get really, really amazing on that turn 6. It can get bonkers. This, I keep saying this is probably actually the deck I'll start with, is Monster Wave. I know I said this on this lockdown, but I think this would be more fun to start just because it's just destroying stuff can be fun. I'm really a big fan of this one. You look at trying to get Yondu out, Squirrel Girl out, Bucky Barnes out. I thought about Venom a little bit, but I think Carnage is a little bit. Shout out to Seth, by the way. Seth and I talked about these decks a bunch, and it was his recommendation to maybe not use Venom in this and use Carnage, and it made sense. I was thinking about, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense because, you know, really you wanted Venom for maybe stacking up the Killmonger, but that's, you know what, you're losing 1 point there versus, you know, Carnage can gain a point for Squirrels, gain a point for Bucky. You know, it's more consistently getting that actual points to it. So I was like, but anyway, you could swap that out if you want to. You could take out Alioth if you want as well. I think Alioth, maybe Bucky, the Carnage Venom swap. Maybe think about X-23 if you think you could get some extra points that might help you. Wolverine was another possibility just for bouncing around, maybe getting some extra points out there. Electro I had in here for a little bit, but if you don't destroy that and for some reason you don't just get pulled the right card, it's like, well, that just, everything goes out because you can't play the cards that you want to on that final turn. And I was like, you know what? You've already got Wave, and Wave's there for turn 5. You're not trying to really necessarily draw anything early. You want Wave for turn 5. And then on turn 6, you're going to drop some of these monsters in a Wave against your opponent. So I think this, again, you talk about Wave on 5, She-Hulk down to 2 on 6. You can play that with potentially a free Death and a Doom and or a Life. That is probably the best turn 6 you're going to have almost anywhere. So looking at all of this, right? So all of this, what's going to happen is everybody's going to be like, oh my God, I need to counter Mobius. I need to counter Mobius. What am I going to do? How do I counter this? So in turn, you're going to not want somebody to copy or take away your Mobius. So we're going to start and finish with these final 2 decks. It's going to be my Mobius. And really we're leaning into the collect and the destroy version of these. So my Mobius, the base of this is going to be obviously Mobius. You're going to have Rogue, Enchantress, and Cosmo. So you'd like to protect your Mobius with Cosmo. You could certainly try to do echoes out there, but again, like nobody's just, if I see an echo out there, I'll just move it. Different location. So your Mobius, Rogue, Enchantress, Cosmo to protect it. So you don't want somebody to have Mobius, Rogue it, Enchantress it. That's it. So this is a collect version. So we've got Zabu to bring some 4-cost cards down. It's nice that Enchantress is at that level. You've got Quinjet to reduce the cost of any cards. You've got your Loki, your Nick Fury, Coulson, Agent 13, all of those to build up your collector a bit. So this is really just, it's kind of a collect version with a little bit of a counter / protection of your own Mobius. That's why I'm calling it my Mobius collect version. You could probably take out Alioth in this, maybe put America Chavez. I mentioned maybe taking out Cosmo, but I personally wouldn't, because I think a lot of people are going to end up going to stuff like this and trying to take people's Mobiuses. And I'm going to want to be able to protect that. So I see the meta evolving into this. And then the other version, it's basically very similar and simple as the other ones, except for this one leans into destroy, is you still got your Mobius, you've got your Cosmo, your Rogue, your Enchantress. But now we're leaning into the Monster Wave aspect of it. Though, again, it doesn't have Alioth, so is it really Monster Wave? Death Wave, Doom Wave, whatever you want to call it. So we have all our Destroy cards this time, and we've got our Doom Wave cards. So that's sort of I'm just playing with swapping those in and out. So all the alternates we talked about earlier for those specific decks, that's what I would do as far as changing these here. But I think this is where it's going to all eventually evolve to. So what I did with all of these is I used Marvel Snap Zone's 2 Builder, and there's going to be links to these in the description below to each one of these decks. So that way you can go to Marvel Snap Zone, check it out there. You can link it. You can easily bring it in game. So that way you can just try it out if you've got these cards. I'm going to be saving these. I'm going to be playing these right away for sure. See how I like it. I think Mobius is absolutely going to wreck everything in game. I fully believe he's going to get OTA down to potentially even a 2-1. There's a chance he might go down to 2-0. I think people would still play him, which to me is just bonkers. That's how strong of a card I think he is he could literally not be worth any points. And people would say like, that's fine. That's fine. I'm good. I'll play Mobius. I'm playing Mobius. -2? Maybe I don't know. I don't like negative points there, right? It's a little bit different. So I appreciate you guys making it till the end. So thank you for that. As far as like the biggest secrets, the things that I expect, the biggest keys, again, I mentioned it towards the end. Protect your Mobius. He is going to be sought after. He's going to be shot at by everybody in the game. They're going to be frustrated with how he's going to be everywhere. He's going to be a straight up menace. So they're going to be looking to counter him, in my opinion. So have those backup plans ready, have deck options ready. That's why I like the Marvel Snap Zone tool, where you can save those decks, put them in wherever you want, keep the links, etc., or come back to this video, get the links. Just make sure you're able to jump around a little bit in what you've got, because I think depending what you're running into and what the meta shakes in and shakes out of, you're going to want to be able to be very flexible. So again, thanks for making it this far. If you want to further support the channel, please consider hammering down that like button, share with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. We've got Patreons, we've got join on YouTube's. Any support you want to throw to the channel, we've got ways to do it. But again, the biggest thing is hammering down like buttons and making it this far in video to help the algorithm out. So thanks again. And until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day.